In the last decades, more and more firms relocate a business process to another country. The reason why is economic logic, namely to reduce costs. But offshoring is not the same as outsourcing. If a task is outsourced, this means that an external company does a part of the work instead of doing it by your own company. In the case of offshoring, the task is relocated to another place with other workers. The central question: what is the influence of offshoring on wages? We try to answer this question by comparing the advantages and disadvantages for workers in the home country and the country to which the jobs are being offshored. This case focuses on the United States and India.
Offshoring shows that more things are tradable than in the past. Not only goods and services, but also jobs and tasks. This process does not only mean advantages for the companies and exploitation of the workers, as public opinion erroneously puts it. Indeed, it also provides huge advantages for employees in the offshore countries. Due to the rapid population growth in the last decades, more than 60% of the Indians are working-age population. So there is a huge potential of ambitious men and women searching for jobs. Through offshoring, millions of jobs have been created in India, which help to counteract the otherwise rapidly increasing unemployment. Since most companies offshoring are concerned about their public image, the working world in India has changed during the last decades. Even if it has been and still is a long progress, the working conditions are often better in international than in local firms. In fact, because of ethical reasons or just to avoid bad press reports, child labor is often forbidden in international companies producing in India, so more children can now go to school. It is estimated that for every dollar of spending that U.S. companies transfer to India, new wealth of $1.46 is created. 33 cents of this is through wages paid to local workers in India. This not only creates more jobs for the unemployed, but also makes workers receive higher wages than from national firms, mainly to commit the workers themselves to the firm. Offshoring is one of the driving forces for the economic growth in India. In fact, it contributed to the significant reduction of poverty during the last 40 years. As a matter of fact, the trend in the graph shows an overall 30% decrease of extreme poverty in the period 1973-2000. It is difficult to find disadvantages in wages for Indian workers in offshore companies, as evidence mainly portrays this to be beneficial. However, there may be some social and cultural barriers to massive Western investments. For instance, many people are now working until night times or for many more hours a day than before being employed in a Western firm, creating protests. No matter the higher wages brought by Western firms, traditional families may oppose to capitalist Western values. How can there be advantages for U.S. workers if offshoring causes unemployment? Let's see them. Assume for simplicity that the average U.S. worker is relatively more skillful than an Indian one, maybe due to longer education period. Then, U.S. workers who had their job offshored are now employed in more skill-specific sectors, that is, less routine-specific. Economic theory suggests they are now able to increase their productivity, which implies also a rise in their wages, as foreseen in the Grossman-Rossi-Hansberg model. Let's derive from this model why this happens. We know that every worker, in theory, earns a wage equal to its productivity. The first advantage for U.S. workers is here explained. Offshoring allows companies to offshore tasks, typically routine-specific tasks, or even whole labor-intensive sectors, to low-wage countries for cost reduction reasons. And this will lead U.S. workers to focus on skill-specific tasks and capital-intensive sectors, where the U.S. show higher competitive advantage. This effect causes a rise in productivity and wages for workers. Take a look at the graph. On the left, we see that the jobs most frequently offshored are office and administrative support, as well as sales-related occupations. The least skill-specific on the list. Not by chance, both these jobs show a wage below the U.S. average. Moreover, there is a quite easy relocation to different jobs or even different productive sectors in the U.S. An often cited disadvantage for U.S. workers caused by offshoring refers to the problems of workers' mobility. Nevertheless, historical data suggests that there is a considerable degree of flexibility in the U.S. labor market. In fact, the U.S. economy can still create jobs quicker than offshoring eliminates them. And the McKinsey Quarterly suggests that even when there is growth in the economy, the job losses in structural changes are predicted to be higher than the job losses counted from offshoring. Indeed, evidence from the McKinsey Quarterly tells us that over the past 10 years, 3.5 million private sector jobs a year have been created, on average, for a total of 35 million new jobs. And it reveals that most workers who lose their positions find another one within 6 months. Some numbers can now show more clearly where such advantages lie. For every dollar that U.S. companies transfer to India, new wealth of $1.46 is created. Up to $1.13 goes back to the U.S. company, mainly through cost savings to businesses, increased exports to India, and repatriated earnings. This cost-saving advantage can then be used to invest and create new jobs. Evidence also suggests that there is an additional benefit of 47 cents of dollars when American workers are reemployed in other jobs with higher productivity. Thus, workers can easily relocate to other sectors such as education and health. Furthermore, in 2002, workers who became unemployed through offshoring were able to secure a wage which was 93% of its sole wage. We've just said that in the Grossman-Rossi-Hansberg model, offshoring routine specific tasks allow U.S. workers to relocate to new jobs which have higher productivity. However, adversaries of offshoring claim that workers who were employed in routine-specific jobs find it difficult to get a new one. Undoubtedly, this increases unemployment and may as well cause disruption in their lives. Following that line, a study by Kletzer in 2001 showed that only 69% of workers with a job, which had been offshored, other than manufacturing, found a new one in the next 6 months, while 25% of workers had to then accept a wage cut of 30% or more. Worryingly, it has been estimated that over the next 15 years, 3.3 million U.S. services jobs and $136 billion in wages will be offshored. What's more, estimates from the U.S. literature report that 20% of the U.S. workforce is in a position when it risks being offshored. Such tasks are mainly IT-intensive or tasks producing IT transmittable output. Concluding, theory cannot give an unambiguous judgment on offshoring. Grossman-Rossi-Hansberg models show 3 effects arising for U.S. workers, 2 negative effects and a positive one. Respectively, the loss of the jobs and the demand for cheaper jobs that reduce U.S. wages, and, on the other hand, the rise in productivity for U.S. workers, increasing their wages. Reality portrays a complex scenario where firms are eager to capture higher margins and tend to offshore, trade unions lobby governments for protection, and labor-abundant countries supply vast workforce who gradually specializes and becomes more and more competitive. A plausible response by Western governments would be to convey its workforce to less routine and more analytical specific sectors through education and relocation of workers. But only the evolution of the process will hopefully show the right path.